The Council's fear. The room was dark, cold, and silent. The Galactic Council chamber floated high above the gas giant Velar Prime. It was a place where leaders from hundreds of species met to make decisions about the galaxy. But tonight, fear filled the air. A small, nervous voice broke the silence. Humans, it said, they will crossbreed with anything. The voice came from Counselor Bractor of the Valorian species. He stood in the center of the room, his blue scales shimmering under the dim lights. His large eyes darted from one face to another, searching for understanding. No species should mix with others like this, Bractor continued, holding up a holographic image. It showed a strange creature, half human, half Arcanian. The being had 6 glowing eyes and a human-like smile. These hybrids are spreading across the galaxy. If we don't act now, there will be no pure species left. Murmurs spread across the chamber. The Ulani representative, a tall figure with delicate silver feathers, stood up. Humans, we underestimated them, she said softly. We thought they were just another new species, but they adapt too quickly. They form connections with anyone, even us. A hologram shifted to show more hybrids, human Noral miners, human Drexian merchants, and even a human Fitherian diplomat who had just been elected on the planet Orios-Ia. These hybrids, Bractor said, voice trembling, are stronger, smarter, and more united than their parent species. Humanity isn't just expanding. They are changing the genetic future of our galaxy. The Council's High Chancellor, an ancient being known as Oris Tikel, tapped his staff. Calm, he commanded. The voices quieted immediately. We must act with wisdom. What do we know about these hybrids? Counselor Bractor gestured to his assistant, who displayed more data. It started 20 years ago, when humans first made contact with the Arathi, a water-dwelling telepathic species. Within a decade, we found human Arathi offspring. The hybrids were faster, stronger, and able to communicate telepathically with both species. Since then, we've discovered hybrids with over 40 species. 40 species. Chancellor Oris's voice cracked with disbelief. Why would humans do this? A new hologram appeared. A human scientist, smiling as she spoke to a documentary crew. Her words echoed through the chamber. Life is connection, she said simply. Humans don't conquer. We connect. We build bridges, not walls. Every species we meet teaches us something new, and sometimes, love finds a way. The room fell silent. Even the Council's fiercest opponents of humanity were stunned. Love, hissed Counselor Sthra, a reptilian with sharp fangs. They are using love as a weapon. This must stop. The Council chamber erupted into shouts. Some demanded immediate action. Others warned against panic. After several minutes, Chancellor Oris raised his staff again. Enough, he said. We must know more. Where are these hybrids being created? Bractor switched the hologram to a map of the outer rim. One planet glowed bright red, Eden Prime. This colony appeared 5 years ago, Bractor explained. It was officially registered as an agricultural settlement. But our spies have detected strange genetic labs, unusual energy patterns, and reports of entire hybrid villages. Chancellor Oris frowned. Send a cover team to investigate. We need to know what is happening on Eden Prime. Eden Prime. Same time. On Eden Prime, the sky shimmered with twin suns. In the lush green fields, a group of children played. They laughed and ran. Children with mixed features. Some had feathers, some had glowing eyes, others had smooth blue skin. A human man, Daniel Cross, watched from a hill. Next to him stood Vela, his Arathi partner. Her skin glowed faintly under the sunlight, and her thoughts reached his mind like a soft whisper. They're watching us, Vela said without speaking. Daniel didn't react outwardly. The Council. Yes, their spy drones are in orbit. They're afraid. Daniel sighed. They think we're building an army. They don't understand. Vela replied. This isn't about war. It's about survival. Below them, the children laughed and played together, united despite their differences. In a galaxy filled with old divisions, these children were something new. Daniel's eyes narrowed. The Council will try to stop us. Vela took his hand. Then we'll show them. We aren't the enemy. High above, a small black drone watched them from orbit, sending images back to the Council. The hybrid uprising. The Galactic Council's decision came quickly. By sunrise over Velar Prime, an elite team of operatives boarded a stealth ship bound for Eden Prime. Their mission: uncover the truth about the human colony and its hybrids. Officially, they were researchers. Unofficially, they were spies. Commander Lurak of the Drexian Special Intelligence Division led the team. Drexians were known for their cold logic, and Lurak was no exception. His black eyes held no warmth as he reviewed the files on the hybrids. His sharp claws tapped the control panel. Eden Prime, he muttered. The humans call it paradise. Let's see if it's true. The ship shimmered into cloak mode and vanished into the vastness of space. Eden Prime. Beneath the surface, the colony of Eden Prime was not what the team expected. The images from the Council archives showed a peaceful farming community, rows of green fields, simple homes, smiling families. But as their ship descended, their scanners revealed something else entirely. "Commander," said Agent Yara, the team's tech expert, "I'm detecting underground structures. Deep, complex tunnels beneath the farms, shielded by advanced tech." Lurak's eyes narrowed. "Human technology?" "No," Yara answered. "This is something else. A mix of different species designs. Arathi energy signatures, Varkanian thermal nodes, and others I can't identify." The team landed in a forested area 3 kilometers from the colony center. They moved silently through the trees, their suits camouflaging them against the green surroundings. As they approached the colony's outskirts, they heard laughter. Peeking through the foliage, the team saw a group of children playing near a stream. The sight was strange. The children were unlike any they'd seen before. Some had scales, others had feathers, a few had faintly glowing skin. Yet they all played together with carefree joy. Agent Torek, the youngest of the group, whispered, "Look at them. They look happy." Lurak didn't respond. His mind raced. Hybrids were supposed to be unnatural, dangerous. Yet here, they were normal. He turned his attention to a nearby building. It looked like a simple barn, but his visor detected a hidden entrance. "Yara," he said, "we go in. The hidden lab." The team reached the barn side and used a pulse disruptor to open the hidden door. Inside, a narrow staircase led underground. The air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, they found themselves in a lab unlike any they had seen before. Tubes of glowing liquid lined the walls. Inside each tube floated a hybrid embryo. Some were humanoid, others had unfamiliar shapes. Data screens flickered with genetic sequences. Yara tapped the nearest console. The system responded in standard galactic language. "Commander," she whispered, "these files, they're not military. They're scientific. Medical records, population growth patterns, and something called Project Kinship. Download everything," Lurak ordered. As Yara transferred the data, a voice echoed through the lab. "Please don't touch that." The team spun around. Standing in the doorway was Daniel Cross. He held no weapon, only a calm expression. Next to him stood Vela, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Who are you?" Lurak demanded, raising his blaster. Daniel raised his hands. "We're settlers, farmers." He smiled slightly. "And apparently, a great mystery to the Galactic Council. Why are you creating these hybrids?" Lurak growled. Daniel's smile faded. "Because the galaxy is broken," he said softly. "Different species live in fear of each other. They see only differences. We build hybrids to show everyone how connected we really are. Connected. Luruk barked a laugh. You're playing with nature. You're creating monsters. Vela stepped forward, her telepathic voice pressing gently against their minds. Are these children monsters? Images flooded their minds. Children laughing, learning, working together. Hybrid communities building homes, planting crops, sharing cultures. There was no war, no hatred, only cooperation. Luruk shook off the mental vision. Stay back, he shouted. The Council sees this as a threat. Daniel's eyes hardened. The Council fears what it doesn't understand. The lab's lights suddenly turned red. Alarms blared. Yara checked her scanner. Commander, the colony's defense systems are activating. They know we're here. Retreat, Luruk ordered. The team sprinted up the stairs and out of the barn. Outside, hybrid guards surrounded them. Tall, strong Varkanian human soldiers with 6 eyes and human determination. The team raised their weapons, but Daniel's voice echoed through the air. Let them go. The guards stepped aside, and the Council's spies ran toward their hidden ship. As they lifted off, Luruk looked down. Daniel and Vela stood together, watching them leave. Galactic Council headquarters. Luruk stood before the Council, his report displayed in the air. Images of hybrid children, the underground lab, and Project Kinship filled the room. They're not building weapons, Luruk said. They're building connections, a network of hybrids across the galaxy. Bractor slammed his fist on the table. This is a weapon. If every species connects through humans, the Council will lose control. The chamber filled with anxious murmurs. Chancellor Orez stared at the final image. A message from Eden Prime's central database. It read, Project Kinship, 1 galaxy, 1 family. The Chancellor gripped his staff. Prepare the fleet, he said. We're going to Eden Prime. Humanity's secret plan. The stars above Eden Prime shimmered like a million silent watchers. Daniel Cross stood on a ridge overlooking the colony, his eyes scanning the sky. Vela stood beside him, her bioluminescent skin glowing faintly in the twilight. She didn't need words. Her mind touched his like a warm breeze. They're coming. Daniel nodded. He'd known it would come to this. The Galactic Council feared what they didn't understand. Fear turned into action. And action, eventually, turned into war. Project Kinship was supposed to bring unity, Daniel said softly. Vela's eyes darkened. Unity requires trust. The Council fears losing control. To them, our hybrids are contamination. Daniel sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. We knew this day would come. He turned and looked toward the colony. It's time for Phase 2. Vela hesitated. The children. They'll be safe, Daniel said. We built Eden Prime to withstand fear. We prepared for this moment. High above, invisible to the naked eye, the Council's fleet was already on the move. The Council's next move. On the Council flagship Dominion, Chancellor Orez Tikel stood with his advisors. The main view screen displayed Eden Prime, its surface calm and quiet. But they all knew appearances were deceptive. Commander Luruk, Orez said, voice hard. You've seen this place. What defenses can we expect? Luruk straightened. Surface defenses are minimal, Chancellor. The real danger is underground. The colony's hybrid population operates as a collective network. Their varied abilities give them unpredictable strengths. Telepathy, heightened senses, and advanced strategic thinking. If they unite, they'll be hard to defeat. Orez frowned. And the humans themselves. They're unpredictable. They bond with alien species like no one else. It makes them dangerous. Councillor Bractor bared his sharp teeth. Dangerous is an understatement. They're spreading like wildfire. If we don't stop them here, we'll see hybrids on every world within a decade. Orez turned toward his tactical officer. Begin the orbital blockade. No one leaves Eden Prime. The children of Kinship, Deep beneath the colony, in a cavern lit by glowing crystals, hybrid children gathered. The cavern walls vibrated faintly, like a living thing holding its breath. One child, Kara, stood apart from the others. Her skin shimmered with faint golden light, a gift from her Arathi heritage. Her father was human, her mother an Arathi empath. Kara was the first successful hybrid of the two species, and the strongest telepath Eden Prime had ever known. "They're here," she whispered into the minds of the adults above ground. "The Council's fleet has blocked the sky." The other children trembled. Fear rippled through the mental link they all shared. Then Kara straightened and sent out a calm, steady thought. "We are family. We are strong together." The fear lessened. The hybrids stood taller. They were more than children of two species. They were something new. The Council strikes. The Council fleet fired its first warning shots. Bright beams of energy streaked through the sky, tearing apart communication towers and disrupting Eden Prime's surface defenses. Daniel Cross stood in the colony's command center, watching the screens. Vila paced beside him. "They're testing us," Daniel said. "They want to see how we react." "And how will we react?" Vila asked. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Activate the resonance field." Vela hesitated, then nodded. She placed her hands on the central console. Her skin glowed brighter as she connected with the bioreactive systems deep underground. Far below, crystal towers pulsed with energy. The ground shuddered. A low hum filled the air. On the council ships, alarms blared. "Chancellor," an officer shouted, "a massive energy field is spreading across the planet. It's disrupting our scanners." Oras gripped his staff. "What is it?" "A resonance field," Commander Lurak said grimly. "The hybrids are using their telepathic abilities to confuse our systems." The view screen flickered. For a moment, static filled the display. Then a face appeared, Daniel Cross. He looked calm but firm. "Chancellor Oras," Daniel said, "turn back. We don't want a war." Oras stepped forward. "You have no authority to demand anything, human." Daniel tilted his head slightly. "Authority. We don't care about authority. We care about survival, about connection. Kinship. You fear us because we don't fit into your neat categories. Your hybrids are dangerous," Oras snapped. "You're rewriting nature." "Nature rewrites itself," Daniel replied. "We're just helping it along." The transmission ended. Oras slammed his fist on the console. "Prepare ground forces." Project Kinship revealed. Back in the underground lab, Kara stood by a large cylindrical structure. Inside, suspended in blue liquid, floated a creature unlike any seen before. Its skin shimmered like metal. Its eyes opened slowly, two glowing spheres of blue light. It was young but already aware. "Project Kinship," Kara whispered. "The unity of all." The creature opened its mouth, and though no sound came, Kara heard its voice in her mind. "The old ways are dying. The new way begins." Council assault. Council forces landed on Eden Prime, heavy walkers stomping through the fields. Hybrid defenders, led by Varkanian human squads, met them with guerrilla tactics. The battle spread across the colony like wildfire. But Eden Prime had secrets. The ground split beneath the Council soldiers. Hybrid plant life, connected through the colony's underground network, responded to telepathic commands. Thick vines wrapped around metal walkers, pulling them down. In the Council war room, panic spread. "They're using the environment," Lurak shouted. "Their hybrids are connected to the planet itself." The bigger threat. While the battle raged, Daniel and Vela retreated to the main lab. Project Kinship wasn't about hybrids alone. It was about understanding the pattern behind life. Daniel activated the core projector. A massive map of the galaxy appeared. But in the far right quadrant, a dark void pulsed. It spread slowly, like a wound that wouldn't heal. "This is why we created the hybrids," Daniel said. "Life in this galaxy isn't random. There's a pattern in our DNA, across all species." Vela touched the projection. This void, it's consuming the pattern. And we think it's sentient, Daniel said. We call it the hive. The Council's desperation. The Galactic Council fleet hovered above Eden Prime like a storm refusing to break. Its warships cast dark shadows across the colony's fields, their engines humming with barely restrained energy. On the ground, hybrid defenders moved with practiced coordination, their senses linked by instinct and telepathic bonds. The battle had not yet reached its peak, but both sides knew that peace was no longer possible. In the Council command ship Dominion, Chancellor Oris Tikel paced before the central view screen. His scaled fingers tapped against his staff with sharp, nervous clicks. The image before him showed Eden Prime's surface glowing with faint blue lines, evidence of the resonance field that protected the colony's underground systems. The hybrids were not just defending themselves. They were protecting something far more important. The resonance field continues to block our scanners, said Commander Lurik, his tone tight with frustration. We can't see past it. Then we strike harder. Oris snapped. Target their main colony center. Burn it to the ground. Lurik hesitated. Chancellor, there are civilians there. Hybrid children. Oris's eyes narrowed. And when did we start calling those abominations children? Do it. The command was given. The Dominion's main cannon hummed as it charged. The beam fired. A blinding spear of light that split the sky. The shattering of Eden Prime. On Eden Prime, the ground trembled as the Council's energy beam struck the surface. The colony's central plaza, once filled with market stalls and laughter, exploded in a wave of fire and debris. The impact shattered buildings and sent shockwaves through the earth. Daniel, Cross, and Vela stood in the underground control room when the blast hit. The cavern walls groaned, cracks spreading like spiderwebs. The surface is compromised. Vela shouted, shields at 40%. Daniel gripped the console. They want to break the resonance field, but that's not what they fear. He turned toward the cylindrical tank at the chamber center. The hybrid child within, the prototype of Project Kinship, floated in glowing liquid. Its eyes, two spheres of electric blue, watched Daniel with quiet awareness. Kara, the Arathi human girl, entered the chamber. Her skin glowed with a faint golden shimmer, her expression serious beyond her years. The hive is watching, Kara said. Her voice echoed not just in the room but in their minds. We've disturbed its slumber. Daniel's heart skipped. Show me. Kara extended her hands toward the holoprojector. The map of the galaxy appeared again, and in the outer rim, the dark void pulsed. It was larger than before, its tendrils creeping toward core worlds. Strange symbols danced across the map, symbols that no known species could translate. The hive doesn't fear hybrids, Kara said softly. It fears unity. The Council's meeting of fear. On the command deck of the Dominion, Chancellor Oris convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council via holographic transmission. Across the galaxy, representatives appeared as shimmering images in the chamber. Fear and anger painted their expressions. This colony, Oris began, gesturing toward the burning surface of Eden Prime, is more than a scientific anomaly. It is a direct threat to our future. Councillor Bractor of Veller leaned forward. We must act now. Humanity is rewriting the rules of biology. If this spreads, no species will remain pure. Councillor Eulaini of the Fitherian Consortium shook her head. Purity is an illusion. These hybrids have done nothing to provoke us. They are peaceful. Perhaps we should talk. Talk. Bractor hissed. While they merge with more of our kind. What happens when they merge with the Raxiri Hotic minds, or the solar titans of Nyx? We will be extinct within a century. The council erupted into arguments. Oris raised his staff, sending a sharp tone through the chamber. There is one path forward, Oris declared. Full invasion. We will dismantle Eden Prime, confiscate their research, and end this hybrid plague. And if Earth resists, asked Eulaini, we burn them next. The council chamber fell silent. Slowly, one by one, councilors raised their hands in agreement. The hive stirs. Far from the battle, beyond the council's reach, the hive stirred. Deep in the cold void, its collective mind sensed the rising conflict. The hybrids were changing the balance of life, connecting once isolated species into one network of thought and potential. The hive existed to prevent such unity. Its consciousness pulsed across the stars, reaching toward Eden Prime. For millennia, the galaxy had remained fragmented. Now, humanity threatened that balance. The hive sent a signal into the dark. The void responded with a low, rhythmic vibration that resonated across the galaxy. Worlds in the outer rim felt the tremor without understanding its meaning. But hybrid minds did. On Eden Prime, Kara gasped, clutching her head. "They're coming," she whispered. The hive. It's waking up. The Council's ground invasion. Council ground forces launched their full attack. Massive hover tanks rumbled through the colony's streets, firing concussive blasts that shattered walls and sent shockwaves through the ground. Hybrid defenders retaliated with tactics no single species had mastered. Unpredictable, coordinated, and instinctive. A squad of Arcanian human hybrids ambushed a council tank from beneath, using their enhanced strength to crack open the armored hull. Fetherian human scouts coordinated sniper fire with uncanny precision, targeting officers through thick smoke. Commander Lurak led the council assault, directing forces from the ground. His orders were efficient and ruthless. Target the communication nodes. Cut them off from each other. The hybrids fought bravely, but the council forces had superior numbers and firepower. The colony's surface infrastructure collapsed bit by bit. The lab's secret. In the lab, Daniel Cross activated a concealed command console. The tank containing the hybrid prototype hummed as protective shields engage. "Vila, take Kara and the prototype through the escape tunnels," Daniel said. Vela's eyes widened. "What about you?" "I'll activate the final phase of Project Kinship," Daniel replied. "We need to show the Council what they're really up against." Kara tugged at his sleeve. "The hive is afraid of us because we can connect," she said softly. "But what if we connect with it?" Daniel knelt, his voice gentle. "We don't know what that might do." Kara's eyes shimmered. "It might save us." The ground shook violently. The hive's distant signal grew louder in Kara's mind. Disconnection. Isolation. Disunity. The hive's voice, ancient and vast, echoed through her skull. Daniel stood, his face grim. "We don't have much time. Go." Vila and Kara hurried toward the tunnels, guiding the prototype. Daniel remained, inputting commands into the lab's mainframe. The holomap zoomed in on the hive's location. Its tendrils had reached the inner rim. In weeks, it would be upon them. Daniel opened a broadcast frequency to the Council's command ship. "This is Daniel Cross of Eden Prime," he said, voice calm despite the chaos. "You think hybrids are the threat. You're wrong. Something else is coming. Something far worse." The Council Command Center received the message. Oras listened, his jaw tightening. "More human lies," he said. But Commander Lurak wasn't so sure. He zoomed in on the background of Daniel's transmission. The star map showed the hive's tendrils. The pattern was spreading fast. And if the hybrids were right, the entire galaxy was in danger. A hybrid debate. The Galactic Council's fleet remained in orbit above Eden Prime, but the battle had reached a grim stalemate. On the surface, hybrid defenders held the underground labs with stubborn resistance. Above, the Council's ships maintained the blockade. Yet the true battle was no longer about territory. It was about fear. Fear of change. Fear of unity. Fear of the unknown. But there was something even more dangerous at play, hidden beyond their immediate struggle. The hive was stirring, and the hybrids knew it. The Council's dilemma. In the command chamber of the Dominion, Chancellor Oras Tehel stared at the latest reports. Casualties were rising. Eden Prime's surface defenses were breaking. but far more slowly than expected. Hybrid tactics were unpredictable, their unity giving them a level of adaptability the Council's rigid forces could not match. Commander Lurok stood beside him, face grim. "We need to reconsider our strategy, Chancellor." "Reconsider?" Oris scoffed. "We're winning." Lurok pointed to the holographic map. "We're not just fighting humans, we're fighting a network. Their hybrids think together, adapt together. Every fallen unit teaches the others instantly. This isn't traditional warfare." Oris clenched his jaw. "Then we'll hit them harder." Lurok hesitated. "Or we could listen to what Daniel Cross said." The Chancellor turned, eyes narrowing. "About the hive. A trick to buy time." "Maybe," Lurok said. "But if it isn't?" The Council chamber grew tense. The war was becoming more complicated than they'd expected. Eden Prime. Voices underground. Deep beneath the scorched fields, Vela and Kara moved through the emergency tunnels with the hybrid prototype. The child's glowing blue eyes blinked slowly, its mind brushing theirs with soft curiosity. "Family," it whispered into their thoughts. Vela squeezed Kara's hand. "It's learning." Kara nodded. "It feels the hive watching." The tunnels opened into a vast underground chamber lined with crystalline growths. The crystals resonated faintly with the hybrid's collective thoughts. In the center stood an ancient-looking console. Kara touched it and gasped as a map appeared. It showed the galaxy's core, where the hive's tendrils spread like cracks in glass. One tendril reached toward Eden Prime. Its advance had quickened. "They're accelerating," Kara whispered. "They know we've made contact with each other." "What does it want?" Vela asked. Kara placed her glowing hand on the console. Her breathing grew shallow. "Disunity," came the hive's voice in their minds. "Isolation. Silence." A hive fed on division, on species separated by fear. The hybrids, by uniting different species, were disrupting that pattern. The hive saw them as a threat. The Council's debate. Meanwhile, on the Dominion, Chancellor Oris called an emergency session of the Council. The holographic chamber lit up with the faces of galactic leaders from across known space. "This hybrid colony must be destroyed," Oris began, his voice hard. "Eden Prime represents uncontrolled biological experimentation, a danger to us all." Councillor Bractor of Veller leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "They will infect every world with their cross-species abominations, if we allow this." But others were less certain. Councillor Eulaine raised her voice. "Have they attacked any worlds outside Eden Prime? Have they forced hybridization on anyone?" Bractor bared his sharp teeth. "They don't need to force it. They seduce species with curiosity and promises of unity. They mix with any species they meet. Look at our own worlds. Half of the Valorian colony on Lissar IV is already integrating with humans. Is that a threat or an opportunity?" Eulaine asked. The chamber grew louder as arguments erupted. Some feared humanity's hybrid initiative. Others saw potential. Oris slammed his staff. Silence. The noise died. The Chancellor pointed to the holographic feed from Eden Prime. The image showed the underground lab and a hybrid prototype, a child with glowing blue eyes. "This thing is their goal," Oris declared. "A creature with traits from multiple species. If this spreads, the distinct cultures and identities of our worlds will vanish. Or," Eulaine said softly, "perhaps our worlds will finally understand one another." Daniel's broadcast. As the Council argued, Daniel Cross made his move. He stood in the central control room of Eden Prime, his face illuminated by the blue glow of the holographic console. He opened a broadcast frequency, not just to the Council, but to every known world. The signal cut into entertainment feeds, navigation channels, and news streams across the galaxy. Daniel's face appeared in billions of homes and ships. His voice was steady but urgent. "This is Daniel Cross from Eden Prime. You've been told we are a danger, that our hybrids threaten the balance of life in the galaxy. But there's something much worse coming. He displayed the galactic map with the hive's tendrils spreading through the outer rim. The dark shape pulsed like a living wound. We call it the hive, Daniel continued. A force that feeds on division, on isolated species that cannot stand together. For millennia, it's remained dormant, but now, because we've begun uniting, it's waking up. If we don't stop fighting each other, the hive will consume us all. The broadcast showed simulations of entire planets consumed by dark tendrils, life forms dissolving into lifeless matter. We created hybrids not to dominate, Daniel said, voice softening. We did it to help all species connect, because only together can we survive what's coming. The galaxy reacts. Across hundreds of worlds, beings of all shapes and kinds watched Daniel's message. Reactions varied. On Villar Prime, crowds gathered in public squares, watching the hive's terrifying simulation. On Orios II, where Fitherian human hybrids had lived peacefully for years, citizens began organizing support for Eden Prime. But on other worlds, fear won. Some governments declared emergency states, banning interspecies relationships. The galaxy was splitting into two camps: those who believed humanity was uniting the galaxy, and those who thought humanity was destroying it. The hive's answer. In the void beyond the outer rim, the hive felt the galaxy's emotional turmoil. Fear, confusion, and anger swirled through the collective unconscious like blood in the water. The hive fed on that discord. It accelerated its spread. The galactic map displayed in Eden Prime's lab shifted again. The hive's tendrils reached two major trade worlds near Council space. Communications from those planets ceased abruptly. Kara gasped as the hive's voice filled her mind again. Unity must be broken. Prepare for disconnection. The hive was no longer watching. It was coming. The Council's last chance. On the Dominion, the Council saw the same data. The hive's tendrils were moving faster than anyone predicted. Entire star systems were going dark. Commander Lurok stood beside the Chancellor, voice tight. The humans were right. Chancellor Oraz's hands gripped his staff so tightly the metal creaked. So, what do we do? Councillor Yulani's voice broke the silence. We join them, she said. We fight alongside the hybrids. Oraz closed his eyes. The thought of abandoning centuries of isolation was unthinkable. But the hive didn't care about tradition. It only cared about disunity. He opened his eyes. Send a message to Earth, he ordered. We need to talk. The true threat. The galaxy trembled. Across the outer rim, planets went silent one by one. Trade routes once filled with bustling activity were now empty, lost to darkness. The hive's tendrils spread like a cancer through space, draining worlds of their life. Where the hive passed, no species remained, only cold, lifeless matter. On Eden Prime, Daniel Cross stood before a holographic projection of the galaxy. He traced the hive's spreading pattern with his eyes. The tendrils had already reached 3 major colonies. If they weren't stopped soon, the core worlds would fall next. The underground lab hummed softly around him. Nearby, Vila and Kara stood beside the hybrid prototype. The child floated in its containment chamber, watching everything with glowing blue eyes. Kara's mind connected with the child's. It didn't speak in words but in feelings. Curiosity, fear, and something deeper, something old. The hive isn't just feeding, Kara said softly. It's learning. Daniel's heart clenched. Learning what? Kara's glowing skin paled slightly. Learning us. The Council's uneasy alliance. Above Eden Prime, the Council fleet remained in a tense formation. The blockade was still active, but their orders had changed. In the command chamber of the Dominion, Chancellor Oras Tikel stood before a massive hologram of Earth. For years, Earth had been a curiosity to the galaxy, a small, stubborn world filled with reckless explorers. Now, it was the key to survival. The holo-communication link crackled to life. An older human appeared on the screen. General Elias Monroe of Earth's Unified Defense Command. His eyes were cold, his jaw tight. Chancellor Orez, Monroe said. What changed? Orez straightened. We've reconsidered. His voice caught slightly on the words. The hive is spreading faster than expected. We believe your hybrids might hold the key to stopping it. Monroe's lips thinned into a hard line. Weeks ago, you wanted to destroy us. Now you want our help. Orez's jaw tightened. We didn't understand what you were doing. We thought humanity was trying to dominate the galaxy. We were trying to save it, Monroe said bluntly. There was a long silence. Finally, Orez lowered his head slightly. We made a mistake. Now we all pay for it unless we unite. Monroe exhaled slowly. Earth will help. But we don't trust you. Not yet. Trust, Orez said softly, must be earned. The channel closed. The Council now had something they'd never imagined. A human alliance. The hive's advance. A hive's next target was Eris Prime, a core trade hub with over 60 million inhabitants. On the planet's surface, crowds panicked as the sky turned dark. The hive didn't arrive with ships or weapons. It arrived as a shadow in space. The stars dimmed. Strange vibrations resonated through the air, rattling bones and shattering glass. Plants withered. Water turned to sludge. The sky rippled like disturbed fabric. Then the hive appeared. It wasn't a fleet. It was a single vast structure, a biomechanical mass larger than any known dreadnought. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, constantly shifting and twisting. From its core, thin black tendrils extended toward the planet. The tendrils didn't fire weapons. They simply touched the ground. And where they touched, life disappeared. People screamed and ran, but it didn't matter. The hive didn't kill with explosions or heat. It drained the biological essence from everything. Entire forests collapsed into brittle ash. Animals fell silent and crumbled into dust. People froze mid-step, their bodies disintegrating in seconds. The hive didn't hate. It didn't even notice individual life forms. It sought one thing: disunity. And the galaxy's many isolated, fearful species were perfect fuel. The hybrid plan. On Eden Prime, Daniel stared at the footage from Eris Prime. The hive had consumed the entire planet in less than 6 hours. They don't use weapons, Vela said. They use resonance. They disrupt the biological frequency that binds life together. Daniel rubbed his forehead. The resonance field here protects us. The hybrid minds create a shared pattern that the hive can't disrupt. That's why the hive fears us, Kara said softly. Her golden skin shimmered as she connected to the hive's distant consciousness. It exists to keep life fragmented, alone, separate. Hybrids are like bridges. Daniel's eyes sharpened. So if we extend our hybrid resonance beyond Eden Prime, if we broadcast the pattern to other worlds. Kara's eyes went wide. We could stop the hive's disruption field. But how? Vela asked. The resonance field here works because the hybrids are physically connected. Daniel turned to the hybrid prototype in the tank. The child stared back with an almost knowing expression. Kara, Daniel said slowly, what if we connect through it? The hive's origin. The prototype was more than just a hybrid. It was the result of years of genetic study, combining traits from more than 12 species. Its mind was a living network, a biological antenna capable of transmitting telepathic frequencies across vast distances. Daniel activated the lab's ancient archive. The records had been gathered from hybrid research across dozens of worlds. One particular data file caught his attention, a fragment of Arathi myth. The hive, he read aloud, wasn't always our enemy. Long ago, it was the guardian of life's balance. It maintained natural diversity. But something changed it. It became corrupted, turning from guardian to parasite. Corrupted by what? Vela asked. The holographic projection zoomed into the hive's core structure. Within the writhing mass of tendrils was a crystalline node, a structure that did not match the hive's biological composition. Kara's eyes went distant. It's artificial. Daniel's heart pounded. Someone turned the hive into a predator. The enemy behind the enemy. The prototype child shifted inside its tank. Its blue eyes locked on the crystalline node in the projection. Its voice, clear for the first time, echoed through the lab. The architects. Everyone froze. Daniel knelt beside the tank. Who are the architects? The child's eyes shimmered. The galaxy map changed. In the void beyond known space, a symbol appeared, a three-pointed spiral. The architects created the hive to keep the galaxy fragmented. The prototype said. They feared what unity might awaken. Why? Daniel asked. The child's glowing hand touched the glass of the tank. Because together, we are stronger than them. The final plan. Daniel straightened. His mind raced. The hive is just a tool, he said. The architects corrupted it to keep species separate. If we can use the prototype's resonance abilities to broadcast the hybrid pattern across the galaxy, we can disrupt the hive's dissonance field. Vila exhaled slowly. That might work, if the child can handle the strain. The prototype tilted its head, eyes glowing. I was born for this. Daniel turned to Kara. You'll help guide it. The young hybrid gave a determined nod. Together. The hive's next step. The hive, sensing the growing unity on Eden Prime, shifted its strategy. Its tendrils pulled back from the outer rim and converged on one location. The massive, shifting biomechanical mass detached from the ruined planets it had consumed. Its form stretched unnaturally as it accelerated toward Eden Prime. The hive knew where the bridge of unity had been built, and it was coming to break it. Unity or extinction. The hive was coming. It moved through space with silent, relentless purpose. From the darkness beyond the outer rim, its vast form stretched toward Eden Prime. No engines, no thrusters, just pure gravitational manipulation. It consumed the distance with unnatural speed, a predator drawn to the growing pulse of hybrid unity. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, glistening under distant starlight. Tendrils coiled and uncoiled along its edges, seeking life to consume. At its core pulsed the crystalline node, the artifact implanted long ago by the architects, the ancient masters who had twisted the hive into a parasite of disunity. And now, for the first time in millennia, the hive felt resistance, a whisper of unity spreading from Eden Prime. It didn't hesitate. It accelerated. The final battle had begun. The Council's gamble. On the Council command ship Dominion, Chancellor Oris Tikel stared at the incoming hive. It was larger than they'd estimated, more like a living moon than a ship. Commander Laruk's voice was tight. It'll reach us in less than 2 hours. Oris turned to the holographic communication console. The image of General Monroe from Earth appeared. The human's face was pale but determined. We're ready, Monroe said. We've redirected Earth's deep space communication network to amplify Eden Prime's resonance signal. Will it work? Oris asked. Monroe's lips tightened. We'll find out when the hive arrives. Eden Prime. The resonance core. Deep underground, Daniel Cross stood with Vela and Kara in the resonance chamber. The prototype hybrid child floated in its containment tank, eyes glowing with blue fire. Its small hands pressed against the glass, sensing the vast network of minds gathering above. This is more than just defense, Daniel said softly. This is evolution. The resonance core hummed louder. Crystals embedded in the walls pulsed with synchronized light. The colony's hybrid population had linked their minds to the core, adding their mental strength to the broadcast. But even that wasn't enough. We need more minds, Vela said. The hive's resonance field is still stronger. Daniel turned to Kara. Can you reach beyond the colony? Across space? Kara hesitated, then placed her hands on the console. Her skin glowed golden as she stretched her consciousness outward, guided by the prototype's mental signal. Across the galaxy, hybrid minds felt the call. On Orios II, Fetherian human children paused their games and closed their eyes, joining the network. On Lysar IV, Varkanian human miners stopped mid-shift as their thoughts merged with the signal. And on Earth, entire communities of hybrid families gathered in parks and public squares, their minds instinctively connecting to Eden Prime. The network expanded. The hive felt it, and it roared. The hive's arrival. The hive's shadow engulfed Eden Prime's sky. Its vast body blotted out the twin suns, casting the surface into twilight. Tendrils extended downward, crackling with dark energy. Inside the command center of the Dominion, alarms blared. Chancellor, Commander Lurak said, the hive is deploying its dissonance field. The view screen showed the hive's tendrils piercing the atmosphere. The field's effect was immediate. Surface plants withered. Animals collapsed. The resonance crystals above ground began to crack. Auras gripped his staff. Activate counter-frequency jammers. Across the fleet, Council ships fired beams of concentrated resonance waves at the hive. The beams struck the tendrils, slowing their advance. But the hive adapted quickly, shifting its energy pattern to bypass the interference. The jammers failed. It's too strong, Lurak muttered. It's adapting faster than we can respond. The hybrid link. In the resonance core, the hybrid prototype opened its eyes fully. Its pupils glowed with rotating fractal patterns as it processed the hive's frequency. We need more connection, it said. Its voice echoed in every hybrid mind across the galaxy. Kara's body shook as she focused on the hive's presence. She could feel its hunger, its ancient purpose. But beneath that, she sensed something else. Fear. The hive is afraid of us, Kara said. Afraid? Vela asked, confused. Daniel's eyes sharpened. It's not afraid of hybrids. It's afraid of unity. It was created to keep species separate. We're breaking that pattern. The prototype child turned toward Daniel, its gaze piercing. We can break the hive, but we must all connect. Daniel hesitated. All species, even those not hybridized. The child nodded. The task was impossible. Billions of minds, across hundreds of worlds, species that distrusted each other for generations, all united in one moment of pure collective thought. But it was their only chance. The broadcast of unity. Daniel activated the planetary broadcast system. His face appeared on screens across Eden Prime, Council fleets, and hundreds of allied worlds. This is Daniel Cross. The hive is here. It's breaking our worlds apart. We can't stop it with weapons. We can only stop it together. The transmission showed the hive's black tendrils draining the land. It showed the galactic map with the hive's patterns spreading across star systems. Then it showed Eden Prime's resonance core. We need every mind, every species. Open your thoughts. Let go of fear. Reach for each other. The prototype child pressed its glowing hand against the glass of its tank. Across the galaxy, hybrids guided their families and neighbors into the network. Arathi ocean farmers joined minds with Trexian miners. Fetherian merchants connected with human pilots. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion now felt each other's hopes and fears. The resonance field surged. The hive, sensing the growing unity, lashed out. Its tendrils struck Eden Prime's surface harder, causing earthquakes that collapsed entire buildings. The core chamber cracked, sparks flying from the control panels. Kara cried out, blood trickling from her nose as she maintained the connection. Vela fell to her knees. Daniel grabbed the prototype's tank to steady it. A hive roared through their minds. Disunity, silence, isolation. The child prototype's voice answered, calm and strong. Unity, connection, family. The resonance wave exploded outward. The hive's collapse. The wave of hybrid resonance swept through the hive's structure. Its biomechanical form writhed as the frequencies disrupted the dissonance field. The crystalline node at its core cracked. Across the galaxy, billions of beings felt the hive's mind recoil. The architect's programming shattered as the unified consciousness of countless species overwhelmed it. The hive's body convulsed. Its surface turned brittle. The massive structure, once a terrifying force of nature, fractured. Tendrils disintegrated. The colossal core imploded with a silent, final shudder. The dark mass above Eden Prime collapsed into dust. The sky cleared. The twin suns returned, bathing the planet in warm light. The hive was gone. The aftermath. In the resonance chamber, Daniel collapsed beside Vela and Kara. The hybrid prototype's containment tank cracked open, and the child stepped out. Its glowing eyes dimmed to a soft blue. "It's over," the child said. "The hive is gone." Daniel pulled Kara into a hug. "You did it." She smiled weakly. "We did it." The Council's decision. Days later, the Galactic Council met again. The chamber was filled with a strange, unfamiliar energy. Hope. Chancellor Orez stood and addressed the assembly. The hive was defeated not by ships or weapons, but by unity. Humanity's hybrids showed us a path forward. He turned to Daniel, Vela, and Kara, who stood together before the Council. The Council formally recognizes Earth and its hybrid network as partners in galactic defense. The era of isolation is over. The chamber erupted in applause. A new dawn. Years later, on a quiet night, Kara stood atop Eden Prime's tallest ridge. The stars glittered above. Beside her, the prototype child, now called Elira, gazed at the heavens. "The architects haven't returned," Kara said. "Not yet," Elira replied. "But unity made us stronger. Next time, we'll be ready." Kara smiled softly. One galaxy, one family. And above them, the stars shone brighter than ever before.